please welcome Mose Knows, man. What's up with it, champ?
Ruthless, what's going on with you, man? Yeah, your mama name him Ruthless. I'm gonna call him Ruthless. What's going on with you, brother?
Hey, what's up with it, bro? So, how do you feel about this matchup, bro? Where can they find you, man? Because I know you got the matchups, you know everything. Where can they find you at, man?
You can find me on all platforms. YouTube is if you just go type in Mose Knows, you'll find me there. A lot of people try to piggyback off the name, so it's a little different on Instagram and Twitter, but it's the same standard format. So Instagram is what.mose.knows, and then Twitter is what_Mose_knows. But it's the same thing. If you type in what Mose knows, you'll find me on all those platforms. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can also find me on TikTok. I'm putting out videos weekly on TikTok about the matchups and my picks for the week. So you can find me on all those outlets.
Okay, man. So you mostly just cover all 32 teams, but you are a 49ers fan, right?
Absolutely. You can see the mask hanging off the microphone right there. So my channel, I do discuss all 32 teams like yourself, former player. I love the game of football, so I just want to be around it, be engulfed in it. But at heart, I am a diehard faithful. I am a 49ers fan. So I discuss all 32 teams. Sometimes I might show a little bias to the Niners, but I can give an unbiased opinion as well.
Okay, that's the same way I feel too. But so what position did you play at back then, man? Did you play like semi-football also or no?
Yeah, I played a little bit of semi-pro, Garden State Gladiators, and then after that, once I got a little bit older, I still played a little bit of flag, just to keep the juices flowing. I might have to lace the cleats back up and get back out there with my boys. They just won a championship in the summer league, so they still doing good. We actually won 2 summers ago, and then they won just this last summer, so I might have to strap it back up with the Yak squad. But back when I played with the pads on, I was on the defensive line, so I had played on the interior, moved outside, kind of like they do with Eric Armstead, move him inside, outside. And then in my slimmer days, you might find me on the offensive side of the ball as a tight end, not on the offensive line. I was moving and grooving. I had the hands of the receiver. Again, I'm a 49er fan. One of the reasons why I became a 49er fan was because of Jerry Rice. I used to watch football with my grandmom all the time, and she loved the 49ers. She loved Joe Montana, loved Steve Young, loved Jerry Rice, and that's just who I watched as a kid, and I wanted to be number 80. So I would go practice catching, whether it was with friends or by myself. So as I got a little older, got into my little bit of athleticism, I let coaches know, listen, you can use me on the offensive side of the ball too. Don't sleep on the speed or the hands. So, but mainly on the defensive side on that D-line.
Yeah, that's what it was when I grew up. I was watching Steve Young a lot over my years, but I knew for damn well I wasn't going to play quarterback. So for a guy I was inspired by, even though he didn't play for the 49ers, I just liked the way he played the game. And Tony Gonzalez was just a guy that came to mind. And he was one of the better tight ends to ever play this game. And number 88, man. Anytime I wanted to play the position, I say I want to play tight end. I want to be like Tony Gonzalez out there, man. And then the more I started watching Vernon Davis, I'm like, oh, I got to be like this guy. A little bit here and there. But, yeah, watching this game, I played defensive line. Mostly was doing exactly like the way you were doing. Like I had to play in some end a little bit and then playing some tackle on situational downs. I was mostly asked just to take double blocks here and there. And then there was times where they had to switch me at the offensive line and put me at center and then put me a little bit at guard for the injuries. Because when the injuries came into play, they had to shuffle me up at the offensive line instead of defense, and I wasn't quite used to that role. And they were like saying, man, we're pretty shorthanded. We need to play you at that center spot, man. We got somebody who can play guard, but we don't know anybody else who can play center good. But if you work, I was working on my snaps, practicing it all the time, bro. I was trying to quicken up the snap pace a little bit. And then the coaches started saying, man, we got to plug you in. So they just gave me like 2 minutes of practice of the snapping, and that was it, bro. And I had to get ready for it because of the injuries. So that was like a tough spot, man. I'll tell you what, center is the most difficult position when you play this position. It's mostly you're the one that makes the calls and you got to snap and then you got to block right away. And some people may say it's the simplest position. Not really. You have to really communicate with the quarterback and all that stuff, and you got to be in the fast pace. So that's what it's like when I understand about when you play a different position. I was more used to defense, but once I got onto the offensive line, it was more like, man, I just got to get used to blocking people instead of getting through them. So, yeah. So let's get to the prediction wise. Okay, like your matchups. Okay, since you do all pick'ems and all this other stuff. So let's go on to the matchup that you're looking forward to, if you want to debate about it.
Let me pull it up. Let me see. First of all, let me finish telling them to tap in with us right now. Football talk. I should have finished this. My bad. All right. Tweet that out. Tap in with us right now. And then let me check these matchups real quick. Because I had usually I don't start thinking about it until Wednesday. But you got me on the spot early. So I'm gonna have to remember these because once I say who I'm going with, I can't change. I can't go back.
Yeah.
I can't go back.
That's true.
Of these matchups, wow, this week there really are no real awe-inspiring matchups because really I don't care about Tom Brady going back to New England. I definitely see a solid matchup this week between the Cardinals and the Rams. So the NFC West is going to be in battle all weekend. Us versus Seahawks, Cardinals versus the Rams. So I'm interested in that. But I'm going to go with the Raiders versus the Chargers. Raiders are starting off hot. They were able to beat the Ravens. They were able to beat the Steelers. They got grinded out a tough win against a Miami Dolphins team who was hungry last week and didn't want to lose 2 in a row. So, I'm still questioning. It's early, but I'm still questioning, is this Raiders team legit? Right now, they look that way. Offense is playing well. Derek Carr is playing like a man possessed. His weapons on the offensive side, Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, those guys are playing lights out. And then you got the Chargers. The Chargers are not a team to sleep on in the AFC, nor in the AFC West. Going into Arrowhead and getting a big W, a statement win for young head coach in Brandon Staley, a statement win for a young quarterback in Justin Herbert. They got to see them again, and they may see them a third time in the playoffs. So I want to see how this matchup shakes out because it's really going to determine what's happening in that AFC West. Can, the Chargers, get a dub over the Raiders and take the lead in that division, having a half game lead above the Raiders, both sitting at 3-1. Will the Raiders handle business and take a commanding lead in that division going 4-0? So even if the Chiefs win, they'll be 2-2. If the Chargers lose, they'll be 2-2. And then, the Broncos, albeit having an easy schedule, they're sitting there at 3-0. So this is a good division to watch. So I'm going to take that AFC West matchup just because it's a primetime game. So we'll get to see it on national television. Justin Herbert versus Derek Carr. And it's always good to see Chucky live on TV.
Yeah, pretty much when he's on primetime, besides the Gruder, or what is it, the Gruden Grinder or something? Yeah. The most intriguing matchup I'm really looking forward to, especially when it comes to the Rams and Cardinals. I mean, you can see two of these teams, whoever wins will pretty much have the lead right now, but I'm more surprised by how the Cardinals are playing. You would have think they would have just struggled at this point, right? But they're kind of like overcoming adversity a little bit. But then the Rams, I feel like they're a lot better with Stafford. Like Stafford just gives this offense a lot better. I know what I'm getting with Sean McVay. Sean McVay just needed somebody like a Stafford to be able to take him a little further. But my only question with this is, are they going to actually be able to beat this Cardinals team that just looks a little different this year? Like they're just a little bit different about it. Like something different about Arizona this year that just is catching me a little bit by surprise. But I'm kind of like thinking, should I buy into the hype of them, or do I got to wait until the second half of what they play like? I mean, so far they're looking pretty good. What do you think?
I mean, for me, that Cardinals team is still up in the air. I think it would be a little bit different had they handled the Vikings and the Jaguars a little bit more handedly. If they would have handled the Vikings and the Jaguars like they did Tennessee week 1, what happened in Tennessee, I wasn't expecting at all. You have the Arizona Cardinals on the road, first game of the year in Tennessee against Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, and they absolutely punched them in the mouth in that game. But then the following week, you barely escape with a win over the Vikings, who, if it wasn't for a missed kick, you're 1-1. And then the Jaguars, although they struggled, they got a rookie quarterback, they put up a fight against you. So if you have two weak teams like the Vikings and the Jaguars holding their own against you in weeks 2 and 3, and now you're going up against another high-powered offense in the Rams, who just took down Tom Brady and the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, unless this is a shootout, I can see Arizona struggling in this game. The one thing that we haven't seen is a team with the offensive firepower that can take advantage of their defensive efficiencies. Well, they're going to go up against a team with the offensive firepower that can take advantage of those deficiencies. So it's going to be up to Kyler Murray and that offense to put up 30 or 40 points because I don't think that defense is going to slow down Matt Stafford in that Rams offense. And to piggyback off your point, and maybe we can touch on this a little bit later, Sean McVay is coaching with like a new vigor. Like he's like a kid in a candy store. He's like a kid on Christmas. Like he's so happy to be on the sidelines and to call plays because he has a quarterback that doesn't limit what he's able to do offensively. And as 49er fans, we know that, we're having that issue with the Niners now. Jimmy Garoppolo does some bad things, but then he also does some good things. But is he limiting what Kyle Shanahan can do in this offense? The Rams went out and they made a decision to move on from Goff to get Stafford. And, that's paying forward because McVay is able to use his entire playbook and he's not limited by the quarterback play.
Yeah, like if you notice how their offense they're able to expand the playbook with Stafford, but now this is like the same issue we're dealing with, like a little differently, like the opposite way. Like Jimmy can do you so much, but with Trey Lance, it opens up more of the playbook when it comes to those deep passes and all those other plays. But Jimmy usually throws in those short passes, very limited deep thrower. So that's kind of like something that Shanahan has to work with, and he's been able to work with it okay, but it's like, when is Shanahan going to start opening up the playbook a little more? He just won't be able to with Jimmy, but Jimmy can only be like the kind of guy that will give you those dink and dunk type of passes, and then that's pretty much what he can give you. But he would be like a guy that would manage the game a little bit here and there. But if you don't give him the right supporting cast, this is where we struggle. So if you get somebody like a Stafford or Trey Lance, they can do really good with that kind of limited talent. Like Rodgers, for example, he doesn't need a really great running game at times. He just needs the better supporting cast with receivers or somebody to surround him with, and he'll win games. He don't need it doesn't he won't limit the offense. He'll be more the guy that gives you a lot of the offense right there, and that's what we need.
Yeah, there are very few quarterbacks in this league that can win games without having a running game. Very, very few. We saw in the Rams Buccaneers game, when I gave out, my fantasy advice for the week, I said sit all the running backs in this game for both teams because this is going to be a pass heavy game. Aaron Rodgers, like you mentioned, he's another quarterback where it would be nice to have a running game because you want to keep a defense off balance. But if you need Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball 50 times, more often than not, you're confident in his ability to throw the ball 50 times and to be able to win you the game if he has to do that. So teams are always looking for that type of difference maker, that type of football IQ at the quarterback position.
Yeah, because if you can get that, that makes a difference. Look at Tom Brady; he doesn't need a running game. He actually makes the best out of no running game. Like he can just throw the ball, and you don't have to be a really good running back in this offense for Tom Brady to do whatever he wants. You can be like a James White and still produce.
Exactly. I think the best running back that Tom Brady has ever had was Corey Dillon, but that was on the tail end of his career after he spent so many years in Cincinnati. So yeah, he doesn't really need a running game to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look at this, man. 49er Tone, what's up, man? I guess he's there. I think Jimmy has peaked. He's a good quarterback, but he's not next level. And what you see is what you get. Shannon got to call better game plan than he did versus Green Bay, and his decisions are questionable, which I agree on that extent. Like some of his play calls were very unpredictable. Like the way Shanahan just doesn't get gutsy. Like when it was like fourth down and one, you could have at least tried to like take the chance at the 50-yard line or something. But instead, he had to punt the ball, and that gave Green Bay a chance to be up by 17. So that was boneheaded right there. If we would have went for it, you could have at least tried with Trey Lance, try to like do one of those little tricky plays, and then try to get Lance involved and get him into those run plays. And then you move the chains and then go back to Jimmy, and then that would be a good way to move the drive. But that was the one mental error mistake he did right there.
Yeah, it was a lot of things for me that was suspect from Kyle in that matchup on Sunday night. To me, there were too many passes behind the line of scrimmage. Like I understand you want to run screens. I understand you want to get get the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them do things. But I think this Green Bay team was ready for that, and because they had so many people in the box and they had their corners and their safeties up close enough to the line of scrimmage to be able to break on those plays, we didn't see anything result from throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. I didn't like that. I didn't like not using more of the running backs. We had Trey Sermon, and yeah, sure, Jaquiz Patrick just got signed, but handing him the ball and just allowing him to run. These guys are in the league for a reason. These guys have been playing football since they were 4 or 5 years old. So while he might not have full breadth of the offense, don't I think the most intricate thing for a running back in this scheme is the pass protection schemes. When you use a Kerryon Johnson, who you called up, or Jaquiz Patrick, who you signed, don't have him in the game on a passing down. Make sure it's Kyle Juszczyk. Make sure it's Trey Sermon, who had a little bit more time. But utilize them for what they do. They're running backs. Hand them the ball. Let your offensive line maul some guys up front and wear down this defensive front. Have them at least thinking that you're going to run the ball, even if you spread carries across Trey Sermon, Cannon, Kerryon Johnson, and Jaquiz Patrick. At least have them think you're going to run the ball to allow you to open up that play action a little bit more. But a few little halfback dives to Juice and only giving Trey Sermon carries where it really didn't make sense for him to have carries. I didn't like that game plan at all. I think we started slow, which I thought was an issue for this team. Normally in our home openers, I was there in 2019. I watched the home opener last year in 2020, even though there were no fans. For some reason, in our home openers, we start slow. We started slow in Philly, and my key to the game was we cannot start slow versus Green Bay team. And that's what we did, and that put us behind the 8 ball early. Thankfully, we were able to climb out of it, but it wasn't enough because, Aaron Rodgers' last-minute drive at the end of the game. So, yeah, Kyle has to do better. I understand he's probably frustrated. He probably hates the fact that he is limited the way that he is. But you have to understand that you have those limitations and be the offensive genius that everyone says that you are and scheme it up to make Jimmy look better than what he is.
Yeah, that's been the issue with Shanahan's. Like he's been kind of abandoning what's kind of been working, and then even though the injuries at running back, if you were just going to play Sherman, of course, could have got him some more touches, but he didn't give him enough touches. They went with Juszczyk, and then they switched it up with Kittle for one carry, and then Debo got a carry. It's like, what was the purpose of even playing this guy if you're not going to give him a lot of carries? Like, at least give Trey Sermon 15 or 20 touches, man. This guy's supposed to be like a bell cow type back. I mean, he's not like your traditional running back that fits your offense. He's more like a physical type back. Like he's not gonna outrun people. He's gonna be like the kind of guy that out physicals you in the line of scrimmage and kind of gives you some chunky yards here and there and take the tough yardage. Like he may not be like as big as what he is. I mean, he's like, what is it, like 220, 6 foot at least. He's more of a physical back, but he's not like a 4-3 guy. No, he's more like almost a 4-6 dude. But he'll be able to run you over. But they're not using him the right way. Like I think they need to like try to fit his strength a little more, but they didn't do that. So what I'm hoping for is maybe when Elijah Mitchell returns, maybe the running game will start flowing against Seattle. But we'll see, man. We'll wait and see. But the secondary, the one thing I questioned the most during the season was cornerback. Why did we not address it? It's kind of been the issue, and they've been ignoring it. And they waited until the third round to get a cornerback, and he's not even turning out to be exactly the case. We didn't even sign a guy in free agency is like big, and then we kept getting them later. We got one off the streets, and they're just coming in at a decent time. But Josh Norman, for some reason, we were lucky to get him at a good time. Draker Patrick seems like if we can play him, maybe we got something with him. But I don't know, man. Then we got this Devontae Harris kid. I don't know what he's all about, but it looks like they like him.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Shout out to my sister Peach from the Nitty Gritty Niners crew. We talked about it last night, and she was adamant that her choice for us in the second round, had we not traded out, was to draft Asante Samuel Jr. If we would have stayed put where we were in the second round, he fell right to us. That would have addressed an immediate need that we had at corner. And we would have brought him into the fold. And now, of course, hindsight is 2020, but looking back, if we would have made that decision, Kyle and John would have looked like geniuses. Because the way Asante Samuel Jr. is playing right now, he is balling. He is playing lights out. I think he's tied for I think he's top 3 or top 5 in the league so far with interceptions. He's playing really, really good football on that Chargers defense, and I would have expected him to do nothing less, if not more, playing in our defense. So that's a problem there. The news came either today or yesterday. I think it was yesterday. That and if there has been talk that C.J. Henderson, cornerback for the Jaguars, was available via trade. And I believe the 49ers were in on it. I don't know if they were or not, or what was offered from our end. But for whatever reason, the deal didn't get struck. But the Carolina Panthers were able to get C.J. Henderson and a 5th-round pick for tight end Dan Arnold and a 3rd-round pick. And I'm like, what? Like, how? And we have a need at corner. You mean to tell me we couldn't put Ross Dwelly, who only played 10 snaps on Sunday, has 0 targets so far this season and 0 catches. We couldn't throw Ross Dwelly or Charlie Warner in that deal if the Jaguars were looking for a tight end. We couldn't throw one of those 2 guys in and a 3rd-round pick to get C.J. Henderson and a 5th back. So we just swapped picks, moved down a little bit from the 3rd to the 5th, but we get a 1st-round potential cornerback who isn't in a system that benefits him over to us in a system that benefits him at a position of need. He's like 6'1", 6'2". He runs in the 4.4s. Like, he's exactly everything we need on this defense who are lacking corners, and we don't make the move to go get him. So it's going to be tough if you're saying that we want to win this NFC West to go against DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins and Cooper Kupp and Deshaun Jackson and Robert Woods. It's going to be tough to win this division if you don't have corners that can stay with the caliber of receiver that you have on the other teams in this division. So I think we need to do everything that we can to address it. I mean, Cameron Dantzler is still out there. I hope we're on the phone. I hope we can get something done. It doesn't look like Sherm's coming back because it looks like he's headed down to Tampa, and the defending champs want to bring him into the fold there. I don't think there are any other corners walking the street.
There's
go ahead.
Yeah, there's quite a few different ones I'm looking at, and you got Quentin Dunbar who's available. Then you got Gary Conley, then Dequiza Denard, which is a guy that's familiar with Draker Patrick, but that's about it. That's all you got left.
Yeah, I mean, I probably the only one in that list I take a flyer on is Gary Conley, but he scares me sometimes just because his instincts and IQ, and he's one of those corners that likes to jump routes a little bit, and he can guess wrong, and sometimes he guesses wrong more often than he guesses right. But I mean, at this point, we need the speed, we need the athleticism, we need guys who can cover and play in this defense. So, I like you mentioned Ambry Thomas, drafting him early. I really wonder what's going on with him, and why he isn't ready. I mean, I know he sat out last season, due to COVID, so he opted out. So I'm sure he's trying to get his legs back underneath him, but uh, you got to get him out there and let him play and let him figure out where he is. I think going up against Green Bay for Diamador Lenore, going up against Devontae Adams, that was a good barometer to figure out, okay, where am I actually? I played good for the first couple of weeks, but where am I playing against the most elite at this position opposite mine? I think that was a good barometer for him. And I think Ambry Thomas needs to suit up and he needs to get out there and he needs to figure out where he is and what he needs to improve on. Practice is great, but practice, especially now with all the new rules, rarely simulates an NFL game. So he has to get out there and figure out where he is, to know where he needs to improve.
Yeah, that's the only question with Ambry Thomas. Like they like this kid out of Michigan, but it just seems like he's trying to shake off the rust, and it doesn't look like he's ready. Like the way coaching staff are saying, like he did good in practice, but it doesn't seem to translate it. Like Lenore, he'll show you some flashes of getting beaten in practice or something like that, but when it comes to the game, he looks okay. He did pretty solid. That's like the only one that's standing out is him. So I think he's gonna play some nickel. So since Williams is going to be ruled out, they're going to have Lenore play nickel. And the question is since Norman's dealing with what is it, a bruised lung or something? He's kind of day to
True.
day, so I don't know if he'll play. Yeah, pretty much it'll be like questionable. But then you got Emmanuel Mosley who's there, so that should be no problem. And then you got man, I don't know, for some reason we keep this Dante Johnson still around here, and it kind of becomes an issue with the way he covers. Like we've given this guy how many chances? How many chances have you given this guy? And it's kind of been.
Yeah, I mean, some people talk about him and say, well, you shouldn't expect anything from him because he is your fifth or sixth corner. So you should expect for him to make mistakes. But, at this juncture with where we are as a team, knowing that this is his pattern, I think we need to find better depth. Now, you're not going to find many fifth or sixth string corners that can be starters on other teams. That's just not what it is. But you can find better guys who understand their role and can come in when needed and play a little bit better than what Dante Johnson has. It's not, once or twice he gets beat or once or twice he gets a penalty. Like this is habitual. This is a consistent pattern for Dante Johnson. So while we understand we're not going to get starter quality from our fifth or sixth string, I at least want a little bit better quality on a situational basis. So if you have to come in, you can come in and you can, make one or two plays and not look out of place. And then when the starter is ready to come back in, and you go back to the bench. But if a guy is continually hurting you like that, I don't know why he's still around. I really can't answer that.
Yeah, that's a tough part about it. Like his plays just keeps on repeating over and over. But then we got to see what we get out of those other corners. I mean, Ambry Thomas, we have yet to see what he can do. So it's like I think he can't be any worse than Dante Johnson at this point. I mean, Devontae Harris, looking into his tape a little bit from Baltimore or the Broncos or whatever he was playing with, it looks to me he has good eye coordinated focus where he's looking into the ball and kind of more aggressive. But it's very sample size of what he played, so it's like I don't know what to expect out of him, but he can't be any worse than what we got right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're trying to find something that sticks. So I think you rotate those guys opposite Manny Mosley. You know what you're getting from Mosley. You know what you're getting from Lenore. Those other guys, until Norman can come back, whether it's a Drake or Patrick, an Ambry Thomas, Devontae Harris, you got to throw all those guys in there and just see what sticks, who can come in and who can give you the most consistent play of the three. So I want to see all of them. to see who can help us, in the interim until we either get Norman back or we're able to, make a trade and bring somebody else into the mix.
Yeah, that would be the tough question because it would be hard to make some moves right now. But it looks like to me, like you said about the Cameron Dantzler, like I've heard that rumors about it for quite a while, and it's been facts that they were trying to make a call for the Vikings about this cornerback. But if we can't come into agreement to get that guy, then I don't know. They seem to like him because he probably fits the scheme a little bit, but he's not that quick. But he does seem to be in position to make some good plays, kind of like a Josh Norman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, right now he's disgruntled. He didn't say it explicitly, but he just put a tweet out that says, I'm getting tired of holding my tongue. I think he's upset with the situation that they have there. They brought in, Patrick Peterson, and while we all know his pedigree and who Patrick Peterson is, I think a young Cameron Dancer with the season that he had last year on this defense is feeling kind of slighted, that they went and brought the veteran in who he probably feels that right now in his younger age that he's better than. So he's not getting the snaps that, he wishes to see. And I think, he's making it known, albeit indirectly, that, he wants out. He wants a new situation. And I hope that 49ers can capitalize on that. Like, they have a guy that they don't want to be there. You're obviously not utilizing him to his strengths. He doesn't want to be there. I know you don't, as an NFL organization, you don't want to, have the perception that, a player can pout and force his way out of a situation. But I mean, this isn't a Deshaun Watson. This isn't a Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. I mean, it's Cam Dantzler. Right now, he's still trying to make a name for himself. So if he's, not happy with the snaps that he's getting, and he wants to go to another situation where he can kind of prove, his worth and prove, his ability to play corner at this level, then maybe the Vikings do the right thing by him, and move him. Again, I hope that the 49ers are the team that can take advantage of, a team that doesn't see the potential in a young player anymore, and a player that, wants to move on so that he can really show off his talent.
Yeah, it looks to me Vikings are just not playing him. So it's like he was inactive a couple games and then they started playing him at some point. But I think at this point of his career, I think if we got him at this point, it would be because we need him to start or play right away. So that would be the only case scenario. So I think he would fit perfectly in this defensive scheme. We'd be able to cover and do a lot of stuff with this guy. This guy would be able to be more physical, kind of like a Josh Norman. But let's see. Big Play Slay, what's up, bro? But okay, so yeah, based by cornerback, man, it's a lot of question marks. So I know what it's like. But when you look at the defensive line depth, okay, it seems to me we're pretty good at that spot for right now. Like Javon Kinlaw's coming. He came like the other week against the Eagles, so he's still kind of getting back to groove a little. Kevin Givens is supposed to be out like a few weeks or something like that because he had a sprained ankle or something like that, a high ankle sprain.
Yep.
So I'm hearing updates about Maurice Hurst Jr. He should be cleared to practice this week, and I don't know if he'll be able to play this week. But any updates on him possibly coming against the Seahawks, or we have to wait until the Cardinals game?
I think we're probably going to have to wait until the Cardinals game. Knowing how this team, is operating right now with, players coming back off of injury, unless, they're really, really needed. I think, this team and Kyle Shanahan is making the decision, to ease players back in. With the defensive line depth that we have, I think it's okay if we ease Maurice Hurst back in. If Kevin Givens was down and DJ Jones was down and Kentavious Street was down and, we were thin at that position, and I could see him, trying to get him ready to go this week, and, maybe playing him anywhere from, 25 to 35% of the snaps on defense. But I think we'll see a slow ramp up for Maurice Hurst, because they want him to be, 100% healthy and ready to go, and just continue to add, positive depth to that D-line.
Yeah, that's the only thing. We don't have that much of an issue when it comes to that depth wise. So speaking of wide receivers, were you surprised they were able to utilize Ayuk all of a sudden?
I wasn't surprised, but I didn't like how Kyle played that whole situation out to make it seem like, he wasn't in the doghouse, because he clearly was. There was things that was happening that Kyle didn't appreciate, and he tried to send Ayuk a message, because there's no way you can tell me that Ayuk wasn't ready, and he has to play better and show that he's playing better than the guys in front of him. And Trent Sherfield starts week 1, takes a majority of the offensive snaps week 2. And then week 3, Trent Sherfield, I think, only had 3 offensive snaps. So how did it change that rapidly? I know Trent Sherfield didn't regress to not being ready. So in, a week span, Brandon Ayuk jumped from not being ready to all of a sudden being featured. Um, I, I have a hard time believing that from Kyle. But this is something that we needed to see. I think if we utilize Brandon Ayuk in week 1 and week 2, and he was in a little bit more of a rhythm, maybe we're able to start faster against Green Bay. So, again, hindsight is 2020, but you look back on some of the decision and you say, how could this have been different? Well, getting Brandon Ayuk involved week 1, getting him more involved week 2, letting him get that rhythm under him in a real NFL game. He may have been able to produce better, and your offense may have been able to move better with teams knowing that they can't double cover and shade coverage over to Debo's side. They have to worry about Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk, because all 3 of those guys are cooking after the first 2 weeks. I look at the situation in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase. The whole thing was, Jamar Chase doesn't look good. He sat out last year. He's dropping all of these passes. What is going on with Jamar Chase? Jamar Chase is cooking right now. He's clearly the number 1 wide receiver in Cincinnati. I think he has like 4 or 5 touchdowns through 3 weeks so far. Joe Burrow is always looking his way, and I haven't seen many drops from Jamar Chase, and that's because he's getting actual game reps. I'm sure as a young guy, drafted in the first round, you're like, this is preseason, this is training camp, this, I don't really have to worry about this. I'll turn it on during the real games. Now, obviously, you don't want your young players to have that mentality, but once the real games got here, Jamar Chase has turned it on, and he looks really, really good. So I think it's the same with Brandon Ayuk. Give him those opportunities. Give him those snaps. Let him get acclimated with real NFL game speed, with real NFL competition. Not preseason, but you're seeing the starters from snap 1 to snap 60. And I think, this offense could have been in a little bit more rhythm.
Yeah, most definitely. Like the difference with Cincinnati this year, it's like they're actually kind of making improvements just because they got some receivers. I mean, yeah, Jamar Chase. I like the guy coming out of LSU. I thought he was a better prospect than Justin Jefferson, but it looks to me he's kind of exactly as good as advertising from what I'm seeing. Then they got this kid, T. Higgins, man. This guy's another good receiver they got also. And then Tyler Boyd, he's still with the team. I think if they just get a tight end or so, I think they would be really a scary team. But I
Oh,
think they're
yeah.
making some strides right now. I was kind of like listing them as a bad team, but they're kind of proving me wrong right now.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I did an over and under video at the beginning of the season, and their over and under was 6.5. I did give them the over, and even with them making improvements, I think they're still a young team and still learning. So I only said that they would get 7 wins, but 7 is over 6.5. So I did give them the over, but I said, watch out for this Bengals team. They're a young team. They're hungry. They got their quarterback back. They have the weapons on offense. Uh, their coach, while he is a young coach, he's a good offensive mind, and he knows how to scheme up good offense. Defense is the only area that I worry about, but they do have some pieces on that defensive side of the ball, and these guys are playing together. They're playing hungry, and they look really good right now. So, yeah, are they going to be able to contend in that AFC North? You got the Baltimore Ravens there. You got the Cleveland Browns there. I think those are, 1 and 2 in that division. You can put them in whatever order that you want. But this Bengals team is not the same Bengals team that, teams are going to just be able to walk over every single week. They're going to come in and they're going to fight. They're going to battle. And that's going to lead to them getting some wins.
Yeah, they are exactly a far better team than last year. Last year, you were able to just beat them and score on them a lot, but now it's like the cultures have changed a little bit. I was like thinking at first, the way the Bengals were playing and the way it's going, I would have thought, hey, maybe they have to get rid of that head coach because he's had his opportunities and he's on the hot seat. But if for some reason he makes improvements and actually can get something good out of Joe Burrow, then it would be hard to let go of him at this point because you want to develop this quarterback with the rapport with the head coach and all that stuff. So they're adding the weapons, but people were questioning their offensive line. They said if Joe Burrow would have had some good line, I think he would have been really good. But I think it's differently with the Bengals. Their defense is a little bit better than it was before, and you take away all the mental error mistakes they had last year. I think you see a far different team than what you got from last year. I think they can really make a push to maybe win. I could say maybe 8 to 9 games. I think maybe more because they did beat Pittsburgh, and that was surprising.
Yes, I'm with you, man. Anywhere between 7 and 9 games, I think is a solid season. For this Bengals team. Obviously, with the additional game, 7 and 8 games is still not a winning record. But compared to what you were able to do last year, just making those strides, making those improvements, and just seeing that with this young core on offense, you're building something for the future, and that you're able to win games and be competitive. I think that bodes well for them going into the offseason with free agency, being able to track guys to come to Cincinnati, and then, making the moves in the draft. Like you said, if they can bolster that offensive line, if they can add a dynamic tight end to that offense, this team is going to be really good.
Yeah, they're not far off from being competitive the way they are. They are making strive improvements, and now that we look at teams that we didn't expect, like okay, I didn't expect much from the Raiders. I would have thought maybe they would have been like they would always been struggle, struggle, struggle. But it seems to me they're just it's a different kind of team that I'm looking at, and I'm like thinking Derek Carr's playing mistake-free football. He's playing at a high level. He's doing his job right. John Gruden, as much as people hate to criticize him, yeah, he's a little outdated as a head coach, but he knows what he's doing right now. So it's like you got a good defensive coordinator in Gus Bradley who can turn around that defense quickly. He did it with the Chargers, but he did it with Seattle. So he knows defense better than anybody else. So you get a guy you go from Gunther to Bradley in the as an upgrade. So that gives you a really good chance to at least compete in that division. Sure, if they can really beat the Chargers, they're already having a 2 game lead right now. So that's kind of the surprising part. Who would have thought that?
Listen, my wife is a Raiders fan, and I talk so much trash to her during the off season about her Raiders and them not being good. And listen, if like you said, if there's one thing that we know about John Gruden, he can coach some football. And the Raiders team, they're buying in to what he's selling. He has them, effective and moving the ball on the offensive side. As you mentioned, Gus Bradley with the defense. I love what I'm seeing out of Max Crosby so far. It's been 3 games. But if I had to talk about, a defensive player that, I've just fallen in love with during the season so far, and that's not on the 49ers, Max Crosby is on that short list of candidates. He's playing phenomenal football. I mean, he's relentless. His motor is nonstop. Right now, to me, he is the MVP of that defense. He is, the engine that makes that thing run. So, they got a good young team. Chucky has those boys playing now. I mean, they face the Chargers this week. They still have to face the Chiefs. They'll have some tough games on their schedule, but if you can start strong, that's half the battle. Starting the season off strong. If they can start, after this first, quarter of the season at 4-1, or at either 4-0 or 3-1, that's a great start, and that puts you, ahead of the count. So that's all you can really ask for, building momentum in a long football season.
Yeah, that's just the most interesting part about it. Is like who would have thought they would be this good? But I guess we're too soon to judge the season. I guess we're talking 3 games, but so far you like what you see out of the Raiders. They're able to play against really good teams and actually finish strong. Then you look at a team like like Dallas, it seems like you would expect them to be as good as they are. They're supposed to be as good as they are because they got a lot of talent in this division. So, like if you expect them to do bad, then maybe they do the opposite. But if you expect them to do good for some reason, it's just the other way around. But it seems to me they're really kind of like outperforming the expectation a little bit. But I still think the NFC East is a little bit wide open unless Dallas can really capitalize and keep it going. But I see no other team beating them.
Yeah, I think where they're making their money right now, where they're exceeding expectations, is on the defensive side of the ball. Dan Quinn coming over to be their defensive coordinator, and again another Seattle product who had a good run in Atlanta, but sometimes all good things come to an end. Now he's with the Dallas Cowboys, and he has been tasked to turn around that defense that looked absolutely terrible last year, even when Dak Prescott, even before the Dak Prescott injury. So I think that's where they're exceeding expectations on the defensive side of the ball. We know the offense has weapons. They got a two-headed monster at running back with Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. We know who they have at receiver, one of the best, trio of wide receivers in the league. And they have Dak, who, people criticize, but Dak is a really, really good quarterback. He has a good command of this offense. He is the leader of that team. They go as he goes. They follow him. They listen to him. And he plays his heart out for his brothers. So, the AFC West is a wide open division. I expected the Eagles to struggle. I said early, I said if the Eagles don't win against Atlanta, they could start 0-6 or 0-7. They got a tough road ahead. I expected the Giants to struggle because, let's just face it, it's the Giants. I did expect a little bit more from Washington football team. To me personally, I think they're a better football team with Taylor Heineke. So while he is young and he's going to make mistakes, I think he just offers you a little bit more than what Ryan Fitzpatrick would have offered you. But I'm actually surprised by the slow start by this defense. I don't think Chase Young or Montez Sweat have any sacks. I know Chase doesn't have any. I have to double check on Montez Sweat. But I'm surprised at the slow start of this defense. They added, some pieces. They got John Davis, the linebacker out of Kentucky, I thought was a great addition to that linebacking core. They added William Jackson III at the cornerback. So I thought this defense only got better. And to see them, play so lackluster early, that kind of threw me for a loop. If Dallas can maintain the way that they're playing right now on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, I think this division is theirs for the taking.
Pretty much, because if they start the way they are, it can be just their division right now. But like knowing the NFC East, it's kind of like a question mark. You don't know who's gonna win it. So it's like one could have a bad record and still have a chance to make the playoffs. You can win 8 games or 9 games and you'll probably make the playoffs under that division. Oh, what are you gonna say?
Go ahead. Keep talking for a second. I need 1 minute.
All right, man. No problem. All right, he'll be back, guys. But in all seriously, ask questions if you guys want to ask any more questions. Be sure to ask if you guys can. Yeah, he knows his stuff, man. I'm telling you guys, man. He's a cool dude. What's up, Jonah? What's up, Big Play Slay? What is up, 49er Tone? I'll see you on a Cardinals game, man. So, any questions? He's definitely spot on what he's saying right there. I like what he's saying, man. Good stuff.
All right, my bad. Somebody knocking at the front door.
Yeah, it's all good, man. But we can get to the final conclusion if you want, and we can go by prediction with the Niners and Seahawks matchup, and then we can go from there.
Sure. What you got?
All right. So, what do you got in your prediction with the Niners and Seahawks game?
Man. I'm trying to look at it from an unbiased opinion. Shout out to Amin, man. I appreciate that, Amin. Thank you so much, bro. You are a legend, for real, for real. You the real legend. I'm just trying to be like you when I grow up. I I don't, want to be a homer and be like, I expect the 49ers to win, but I don't want to be, the pessimistic guy who says, um, it's going to be tough. How come there's no more live stream? I'm trying to get them scheduled. It's been tough with stuff that's going on at work. Just having a new baby, so helping the missus out with that.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So a lot of stuff going on. So I'm trying to, figure out how I can get content out and just keep the content fresh, but also have time for my family and give the proper time to my job. So once things kind of settle down, live streams will be coming back definitely. And I'm gonna reach out to you to have you on for a show as well. You too, CG. So they'll be back soon enough. Let me just get some things figured out in the background. But as far as the Niners Seahawks matchup, man, it's difficult because we know what they bring from an offensive standpoint. We know Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. We know that they have a great wide receiver core with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. So we know they pose a threat in that area. And our biggest weakness right now is corner. So they have a decided advantage right there off the rip. We know that their offensive line is a little bit shaky. Yes, they added Gabe Jackson, but he doesn't make the entire offensive line better. No disrespect to him, but he doesn't make the entire offensive line better. So we have to have a better performance than we did against Green Bay, against Seattle, if we want to stay in this game and try to limit the damage that they can do in the air. On the offensive side of the ball, we have the capability to put up points. We put up 28 points against Green Bay. And if you look at just touchdowns, they only had 3 touchdowns. We had 4. So we outscored them in touchdowns, but they put up more points with the field goals. This Seattle defense is not the same defense. I think last year they were a solid defense. Obviously, they weren't the Legion of Boom anymore, but this defense this year is worse than they were last year. So they've continually been on this downward spiral, but I think this is a good time for us to really take advantage of the deficiencies on this Seattle Seahawks defense. But then we struggle with the Jimmy Garoppolo effect and his inability to push the ball down the field, and him only looking to throw in the middle of the field. And if that's the case, if he's only going to throw to the middle of the field and underneath routes, 10, 15 yards and less, then that's going to put Bobby Wagner in a great position to affect this game. That's going to put the safeties Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs in a really, really good position to affect this game. So I think we see Trey Lance start on Sunday? No, I don't think we see him start. But I think, as you mentioned earlier, I think Kyle needs to really figure out what his offensive scheme is going to be in order to take advantage of this Seahawks defense. Hopefully we can get Mitchell back, or hopefully our offensive line is able to open up some holes and Trey Sermon can eat, because we know you can run the ball against this team. Derrick Henry destroyed them, 35 carries for 182 yards. Alexander Mattison played well against this team, both running the ball effectively and catching it out of the backfield. So I understand Kyle's an offensive genius, and I understand he has his game plan and his scheme, but I think he really needs to take a look at the film and take advantage of what these other teams did to be successful against this Seahawks defense. So it's tough. I think we're capable, but with what happened in the Packers game, I worry if we're going to be able to execute the way we need to in order to win this game.
Yeah, that's the most concerning factor about it, is like the way we were playing against Green Bay, that can be exactly what Seattle can give us. But the only problem with The way that Seattle's been able to struggle from those first 3 games was time of possession. So they haven't been able to get on the field as much on offense. So it's been mostly a lot of these quick decision makings and all the other stuff they've been doing. So I can see why they've been struggling a little bit on time of possession. But now that their defense has kind of been a weakness for them, it's kind of been holding them back now. So it's like before Russell Wilson would be able to carry this type of terrible type of defense. Now it's kind of like it's at a point to where he can't even do as much as he can. He's got the weapons, no offensive line, but he still can make the most out of everything. But I think as long as we can get these guys in position to make plays, I know DK Metcalf's going to be a big play waiting to happen. I know he's the kind of guy that you want to throw those deep passes to, and we got to be able to limit those plays. Tyler Lockett, as good as he is, he can separate, he can be shifty, and he can be really hard to cover. So you got to limit him in some certain ways. Chris Carson, he's the engine that moves for Seattle's offense, because if he moves the ball, it's going to give Seattle a better chance to move the chains and be able to extend some more plays. But Russell Wilson, of course, he's going to be the guy that's going to run and be able to maintain those plays for them, and he's going to be able to throw the ball too. So if he sees something open, he's going to throw it right there. The only difference between Russell Wilson is, yeah, he may be an undersized version of Rodgers, but he's got the ability to keep plays alive. So that's the one downside of it.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing for myself and all the other faithful is we have the pieces, we have the tools, we have the capability. It's just about executing. And when we see other teams week in and week out being able to execute properly, and to win these games without much or any issues, it's frustrating to look at our team, whether you just look at it on paper or if you look at it from the product that we put on the field. It's frustrating to look at our team and say, you know what, we're better than those dudes. We're better than those dudes. If we play the game, the type of football that we know how to play, if we execute our assignments and the game plan, we're better than those dudes. I think if we didn't take our foot off the gas in week one, I've said it multiple times. I think we could have put up 60 against Detroit. If we didn't start slow in Philly, we could have put up 40 against Philly. If we didn't start slow against Green Bay, we could have put up 40 against. Like, we're a team that could average 30 points a game, like the Rams, like the Cardinals. We have the capability to do it, but there are certain things that are holding us back. And I don't want to keep harping on the Jimmy debate, but I mean, something's got to give. Either he figures something out and he just flips the switch and says, you know what, I don't care about making mistakes anymore. I don't care about what my limitations are. I'm at least going to try something different. Like, just show me that you're a football player. Show me that you don't care about what the media is going to say. You don't care about the headlines in the newspaper. All you care about is winning. And you're going to do whatever you need to do to put your team in the best position to win. I think if Jimmy did that, I think he would have more of the fan base on his side and say, give us this year, Jimmy. We don't want to see Trey until next year. We know he's the future, but we don't want to see him until next year. But I think he doesn't give us that enough. I saw a lot of people who were upset that after the game, like, he was smile. He walked up to Aaron Rodgers and he was like smiling, and they had a pleasant exchange. And not to say that he needed to be angry or he didn't need to show good sportsmanship, but like, smiling and acting like everything is good. No, you should be upset. You should be upset that we were able to put up 28 points against this team. You were able to lead a game-winning drive at the end of the game, and you still lost. Why? Because you started slow. Because you made some boneheaded plays. Because you threw the ball backwards, trying to throw it into the ground, and it was a fumble on a drive that could have netted us points that possibly could have been the points that we needed to win. To where we're driving down and we get that last second touchdown. Now we're up more than 2 points or more than a point. We're up 4 or 5 and they need a touchdown instead of 3. So, it's little things like that. Like, I just want Jimmy to be like, you know what? I don't care that Trey Lance is here. I don't care about making mistakes. I don't care what Kyle Shanahan is going to say. Like, I'm going to play this position, and I'm not going to limit myself with what I'm able to do. And I mean, and until he does that, I think we see the same thing out of Jimmy. And every week, especially weeks that we lose in games that we could have won, if we don't get blown out, the call is going to be, when is it time for us to see Trey Lance?
That would be the only thing that would be questioned until we see a lot of improvement out of Jimmy. But until then, it's like they're sticking with him for right now, and it's kind of like they're kind of giving Trey Lance a little bit of place here and there. But you're not going to really see a lot of Trey Lance until somehow Jimmy gets benched. So for the faithful, I know, be patient. Trey's just not going to start right away. Just saying. It's like you're going to get a lot of the good and bad with Jimmy. So Jimmy's not going to give you the wow plays and all that stuff. He's just going to do the job and get it done. And you're not going to get the best performance all the time. You're just going to probably maybe get one great performance, and then he plays an okay performance. Then it goes to he did okay. You know, that's about it. You're not getting much out of him.
Yeah, man, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that that's the situation. So I either want him to step it up and really, take advantage of the opportunity that he has. Obviously, if you're not going to be here next year, what's going on, Bashar? Obviously, if you're not going to be here next year, this whole year is an audition tape for whatever your next team is. And I think for him, he should really look at it that way, because if we're not getting any trade offers for Jimmy G right now, or if we haven't got any trade offers for Jimmy G at all this offseason, then that would lead me to believe that not too many teams out there want you. So this needs to be an audition to say, I'm a solid enough quarterback that if you need me to start for your team next year, I can come in and start for your team. So I either want him to, take advantage of that opportunity, or, lay it down and let the young guy come in. Because I'll pose this question to you. I posed this question last night on Nitty Gritty Niners. If we lose against Seattle and we lose against Arizona, and it's not close, I'm not talking about the way we lost against Green Bay. It's not close, and the offense looks terrible, and we started 2-0. We lose 3 straight going into the bye. Do we see Trey Lance week 7 against the Colts at home?
Okay, like you just said, it's not a close game. It's a blowout defeat, and offense isn't getting any better. I think at this point, you might as well pull the plug and just put in Trey Lance, because what's there for us? We need to have a spark. Come on. If you're getting beat and you're losing 3 straight games and you're coming into the bye with a terrible performance, you got to figure out what's going on with Jimmy, and maybe Jimmy just needs to get benched for this one, because it's like, what's the point, dude? You're struggling. You're not helping. You're not getting any better. It's gotten worse those last 2 games. Like, if you're getting us blown out by Seattle, that should be question mark right there. And then you're getting beat by Arizona. That's a question mark. Yeah, it's pretty much like he's already got the 3rd strike. You're benched, bro. It's time for Trey Lance to play after the bye. So it's like, we'll see what we can do. Nothing more to lose. We can either have a lot to gain with Trey Lance, and you can be able to open up the playbook.
And that's what I said. And I know a lot of people will say, the defense let us down in that game. But we know that football is complementary. The offense has to help the defense has to help the offense. And I'm sure that, if we can see it, all the players on that 49ers team can see it. They can see that Jimmy is limited, and that we would be better suited, if we had somebody who can take those limitations off of Kyle, in the offense that he calls. I think if we do lose these 2, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or be pessimistic, but I do think if we lose these next 2 games and go into the bye week at 2-3, if it was me, I'd want to see a change.
Yeah, that would be the only difference. Yeah, Moses sporting his own gear and the hat. I see. Yeah, I'm sporting my own semi-football. And even has the patches for the championship right here or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nice. But nah, dude, it's like that's a good question. And I don't want it to be like that way, but you are thinking like a possibility. It's possible. The way we're playing, it is possible with our secondary, especially the way our offense is starting slow. That's not a good way to start, and it can really look bad on us on a lot of ways. So that's something that I might have to think, but I don't want to think that way. But yeah, it's possible. That's why the Bears wanted Dalton playing, even though he's not as good as Fields in the long run. See, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that Jimmy can get this kid ready and make sure to give him the keys after he's done. But if he struggles and he doesn't take advantage, it will have to be Trey Lance at this point. Like, if we have a chance to make the playoffs and we're just only 3 losses at this point, and we have a chance to make a change on offense, this will put the headlines out there. Ooh, Kyle Shanahan's going to start Trey Lance over Jimmy Garoppolo over terrible performance. That would be on the headlines for the bye week, so that would be interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So anything else? Anybody got questions? And then we're pretty much going to call it a day, man. But I appreciate you on the show, bro.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate you having me, man. Always good to get together with other content creators and talk football. I mean, that's the main reason why, I started this channel. Like I said, I just love the game of football, love being around it, love talking about it. So I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to come on your platform and chop it up with you a bit.
Yeah, no, anytime, bro. I was just looking for an opportunity to get in another person, and I just say, hey, you know what? This guy knows his stuff. I'm looking at what you're doing. I watch your videos all the time, so it's like I get your takes on what you're saying, so I can relate to what you're saying because we both play positions. You played about mostly defense. I played a little bit more of defense throughout my playing days, but then they had to switch me up to the offensive line, so that was a difficult transition. Had to get used to it. It wasn't like easy, because of all the shorthanded and the injuries. They had to throw me out there right away, and I had to be up quick, up to pace. And I had some struggles playing center, but I eventually got comfortable as the season progressed. But it wasn't like something I was getting used to. I had to get used to the quick snaps and the communications. That was the only difference.
Yeah, your team sound like the 49ers.
Yeah, or the Lions.
Or the Lions, yeah.
I had to get up to speed up a little bit. Yeah, even though the injuries, 49ers with injuries, but Lions in general because the team was terrible like a while back. Like I played for teams that weren't as great, but this one I played for, I was mostly just in rotations or playing in certain roles. But in some perspective, I did play for teams that didn't even win much games, like maybe 2 or 3 games throughout my playing days. And I had to play in with guys who were injured or pretty much just quit the team in general. Yeah, I want to see more Trey to help. Yeah, move the chains. That would be good, but we got to design plays. But as far as everything else, me and Moses will definitely have to catch on another time, man. I'll probably go on your stream. Give me a time to schedule, bro. I'm up.
We'll do. We'll definitely have you on, man.
All right, man. Have a good day, everybody. Me and Moses is out.
Peace.
Peace.